do this, people. Top Korean players on a map that still hasn't failed to deliver. That's right, we're back on Deathaura, which our Protoss player is going to commemorate with a low ground pun. We've been seeing some alternate experimental builds lately, so maybe today will be a return to the classics. Let's introduce our first player. I know you know this guy. Especially if you're a fan of analytics, because that means you like to keep up on your stats!
Current world rank 10.
And unless he's just queuing minerals for funsies, we're probably gonna see a hatch first out of our Zerg player. Yes, we are. And that makes perfect sense. Of course he follows the trends. He's an Italian luxury fashion house. He is Armani!
Current world rank 28.
There's nothing worse than a Zerg who ignores fashion. I mean, look at that. That's a designer extractor right there. Obviously, it's part of the Giorgio Collezione. And don't get me started on that pool. I'll never afford a pool like that. Maybe if I really save up, one day I'll get a no-name brand Nexus like this. Or a discount Cybercore like this. Oh, that timing was way off. Drop the cord. Please. Thank you. That probe left me hanging. Which is a good time to point out that there was no gate and go for stats. He's delayed his scout for his Cybercore. That works pretty well, as long as you're pretty certain your opponent's going hatch first. Because really, Stats hasn't missed out on anything. But if he gets a rep for doing this too often, someone's going to take advantage of it. It's all about how you mix it up to keep people guessing. And here's everybody's favorite gush of purple paint. The pool is done as well, and it's double queens, 2 lanes. This Cybercore will complete. And it is not an adept out of the warp gate, it's going to be a stalker. A chrono boosted stalker. Armani's overlord's going to see that, but he doesn't seem to care. He starts up Ling speed. Stats' probe has gotten a look, but it's already too safe for him to hang around. He's not going to see Zerg's drone slipping out for the 3rd. But based on everything he's seen so far, he can probably make an educated assumption. A very traditional economic opening for Armani. Oh, that overlord is regretting checking into the hotel stats. The service is terrible, it's downright rude. In fact, I believe Protoss is going to claim the first blood. But more importantly, that's actually going to supply block the Zerg. There's no overlord being made. Rather, Armani's actually researching pneumatic carapace, overlord speed. Oh, he is making a pair of new overlords. That speed could be useful because he did not get a chance to see Stats' Stargate. It's already completing, and it's going to produce an oracle. He's also making adepts, by the way. Protoss looks to be setting up for some kind of multi-pronged harassment. Armani's already sending over a new overlord to take a look. The speed upgrade is about to kick in, and at that point, Stats should have no ability to zone him out. Protoss only has a single stalker for air control, and it's currently in the wrong base. That means Armani's gonna get the full look he paid for. He's gonna see that Stargate. He's gonna see that it's making an oracle. And he's gonna react immediately by making spores. Just one to start. And he's gonna save his overlord so he can get a second pass in. Overall, Armani seemed to like what he saw because he's continuing to drone up. Though he is adding a second spore, he's gonna have one in his main and in his 3rd. He is continuing to make queens. He's making 2 more to get up to 5. But the oracle is probably gonna hit first. It gives that little nod before it begins its attack run. And here it comes, going for the main. There's 3 queens here. Pulsar beams are active. The oracle snipes 2. That was a lot of defense there. But Stats still kills 2 and saves his oracle. Then the second prong of this is a pair of adepts. Well, they kind of get lucky there and intercept a couple of drones. But their luck may have run out. There's lings and queens on them already. They're going to shade for the main. One of the 2 oracles, though, doesn't make it. The remaining one does shade into the main, but then immediately dies. 6 drone kills for 2 adepts, and the oracle survives. And Stats is going to make a 3rd behind this. Armani's overlord is well positioned to get that timing. Stats has added a void ray. The world is about to become unsafe for overlords. Protoss adding a Twilight Council and a Forge. Zerg's actually already got his Evo chamber done. He's already researching +1. He went Evo before Roach Warren or Pool. Oh, this next Overlord kill is going to supply block Armani again. And there's a door challenge by the Zerglings. I'm not sure Armani really expected that to work. I think he was just trying to keep the Protoss honest by forcing him to make some units. A lot of these top players just love doing things to force their opponent to do something other than what they planned. You're almost always better off if your opponent is doing something other than their preferred game plan. Stats is up to 2 oracles and he's going to try to duck in again. But the queens are there. Armani may be taking a lot of hits, but he's still up on workers. He's got a Roach Warren now and he's starting his lair tech. But I'm sure he'd appreciate it if he could keep an Overlord alive for more than 2 seconds. He's supply blocked again. Stats is getting so much done with just a single Void Ray. Stats is just doing everything at once. He's got a Warp Prism on the way. He's got a Battle Duck in production, and he's researching the Zealot leg upgrade. Armani's holding it together, but pretty soon Stats is going to be able to show him a whole new look. There's no defense at this 4th. Is the Void Ray actually going to get it? A cancel on the Zerg 4th would be big. No, Stats is not going to risk it. He's going to get out of there instead of pushing his luck. Meanwhile, his own 3rd is up and running, and he's got a shield battery tucked back there. Ever since battery overcharge, they've become super prevalent. They're almost more ubiquitous than pylons now. Oh, Armani's just ordered a huge round of roaches. 10 of them. Stats is making Archons. Oh, he might be loading his Warp Prism for a have a nice day drop. The good news for Armani is that roaches are a lot better at dealing with Archons than Lings are. Armani did have his Lings set up in a nice little line to give himself vision, but the Void Rays and Oracles chased them off. Armani started up Roach Speed and a Baneling Nest. I should mention, one of the reasons we love guys like Armani is he's one of those pros who came back to the game after he completed his mandatory military service. And apparently Stats is going to thank him with Oracles and an Archon drop. Is that any way to respect a veteran? Archons are in the 4th, the Roaches are there, there's also Ravagers now. Armani has the firepower to drive that off, but Stats is just looking to pick up kills here and there. There's no anti-air at the 4th, so the Warp Prism has no troubles getting out. The Queens are all tied up trying to zone out those Oracles. They look poised to hit the main, but they might just go for the 4th now. Stats is starting up Storm. A little bit less useful against Roaches, but that's probably why he's adding in the Immortals. Oh, here's the follow-up Oracle attack on the 4th. 5 drone kills, the Queens cannot reach the Oracles from here. Armani's trying to get a Spore up, but Stats just keeps killing the drones. Armani's forced a drone pull. He now wishes he did that 12 drones ago. That is some big time damage for Stats. Remarkably, Armani still has 73 workers. He orders 9 more as replacements. Meanwhile, Stats' Archons are just pruning the creep around the Zerg base. Stats is just putting on a Protoss clinic here. He's got a bigger army supply than the Zerg, and that's really saying something given the amount of roaches that Armani has. Zerg does have a 5th though. And some hidden Banelings for vengeance. I think he's going to go after the 3rd base. Stats has 70 workers. A little reduction plan could go a long way there. Oh, he's mutating Ventral Sacs. We're going to see Baneling drops. I love it. It looks like there's going to be a main force of Ravagers to hit the Protoss, while those Banelings try to sneak in from behind. Armani's showing signs of recovery. He's got 80 workers. What I like for Protoss, though, is Stats is way up on his tech tree. These mid-tier Ravagers are going to be greeted by Storm and Immortals. But I guess we got to see how this plays out. Lots of Banelings coming in for Zerg, a great answer to all that static defense. And speaking of static defense, Stats is adding a cannon exactly where that Overlord drop is planned for. The main Zerg force tries to hit the 4th, but I just want to watch the Baneling drop, but there's 3 cannons there. Oh, Armani gets 0 probes. All he achieves is getting supply blocked again. So he rushes his main force up the ramp. There is Storm to greet him. There's so much for Zerg to have to punch through here. Armani needs to be patient and use his bios, because he just cannot hit that head on. He destroyed some cannons, but Stats is just going to quickly replace them and add additional shield batteries. And there's a Zealot drop for a counter-assault. A good response by Armani. But that Warp Prism is still able to fly in and out without fear. There's no Queens out here. As long as he doesn't get surprised by a corrosive bile, that Warp Prism has a golden ticket. Ah, the Queen's hustling over and another one is being made at that hatch. Both sides have +2 melee attack. Zerg's trying to add +1 armor and +1 missile. Protoss is going for a +3 melee, but also +1 air researching at the cyber core. Stat still has his 2 original oracles. They've been siphoning off Armani's attention all game long. Huge round of banelings being made for the Zerg player. And this Sky Toss transition for Stats. Before it dies, the Overseer is going to see carriers and the mothership in the works. Armani really wants to do some damage right now. Otherwise, he has to have his transition ready. His spire is not yet complete. Neither is his hive. Here come the banelings on the 4th. It's 4th of July time as the storms hit. Only 5 drone kills, but at least he forces the probe pull. I'd have to say Armani did not get value, but he has just produced another 30 lings. Zerg is mining 4,000 minerals a minute. He can afford to keep the banelings flowing. The follow-up has the connection. 16 probes dead. It's Biles versus Storms. One of the two was a lot easier to dodge. Really, the end result here, though, is that Stats has kept all of his bases, and his Sky Toss is coming online. He's still got that original Void Ray, too. Tell me that thing hasn't paid for itself. Oh! Did you see that? Stats storms his own position to kill the Lings, and then saves his Templar by making an Archon. Unless you know that attack is coming, that is not easy to do. Human fingers cannot execute commands that fast. More Zealot harass on the Zerg 5th. I have to say, although it looks like Protoss is doing all this economic damage, the stats, don't really bear it out. Zerg's at 94 workers and pulling in a ton of minerals. Oh, there's our mothership. Nobody knows how to make an entrance like Mama. Armani's trying to get his corruptors ready because the Protoss death ball is ready to make itself known. Zerg is adding adrenal glands, which he's gonna want because Stats is maxed out and looking to trade. He has to do it efficiently though. He is getting outmined. But since he's adding a 5th base, that might not be for too much longer. Stats is still adding carriers. He's gonna go for +2 air attack. These counterlings would love to force the Protoss to return home to defend. He finds a tasty nexus. The static defense was never replenished after his last attack. There's the high-def explosion. You know why the Protoss are facing extinction? Because all their stuff dies in such perfect cinematic fashion. No wonder the other races are obsessed with killing them. I don't know how Armani's gonna deal with this Protoss death ball in his own base though. The Corruptors are gonna come in and try to snipe the mothership, but the storms are here. Oh, the Corruptors are really getting weakened by the storms. They're deep red, they're dying. Armani's supply disintegrates. Stats has an all-access pass to the Zerg base, and it's GG. What a combined arms army that was for the Protoss. Well, one thing's for sure, safe to say the Terran curse continues. But hard to blame our Terran players when they weren't even in this game. I'm going to try to rectify that and seek out a top Terran player. But to keep it interesting, I'll make sure they face a top 10 non-Terran opponent. Truthfully, I was tempted to run a TVT and auto-break the curse, but I feel like that's cheating. 'Cause it kinda is. Anyways, my only post-game contribution here is, can Zerg actually defeat a maxed out Sky Toss without Vipers? I'm sure it's done from time to time, but I can't remember the last time I saw it. I feel like that late in the game, spellcasters are a must, even for a player as slick as Armani. Also, my change in release date to Sunday has left a bunch of our viewers behind. My bad, I shouldn't have mucked with the schedule. But to try to fix it, I'm gonna risk releasing an experimental video to advertise the new date. It's probably gonna go off like a lead balloon, so I want to reassure our most noble subscribers that I will be getting back to regular casts immediately thereafter, so don't worry. And let me just remind you, because I haven't done so in a while, to live life, because nobody wants to die, in hold position. To continue your Starcraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your Starcraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang Starcraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.